Yeah. So I'm Phil Bailie. That was.
There we go. Hurrah!
So I'm the youth worker at Dungannon Presbyterian Church in Northern Ireland, and formerly I was the assistant youth officer for St Edmundsbury and Ipswich, so Suffolk basically. So that's where you guys will have known me from.
Just down the road, yeah, indeed. And we've come over to an event you've done a couple of times. We've done some drum workshops for you, haven't we?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
They were awesome. I did recommend highly everyone going. I was like, you've got to go, you've got to go. Yeah.
We were by far the noisiest of the workshops, but when you give a group of teenagers a bunch of drums, they're not going to gently tap them, are they?
Why would you?
That's good times. I thought the idea of Norwich do something similar with their cathedral. They do an all-night sleepover as well. I think the idea of using these incredible buildings and doing something really modern and different with young people, I think is an absolute genius idea. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But did you enjoy those?
Yeah, I had a class time. I mean, to be fair, I was running about trying to get problem solve and get things organized and all that kind of stuff. So you don't get to take everything in, but actually, just like you're saying, that huge, big, old, super old building that people, tourists come into to take photos of. And we had inflatables and football cages and lights and noise. And it was just like, yeah, how could you not love that,
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, as I've said to those who I've interviewed before, to give my young people an opportunity to gauge you, we've got these 5 questions. They're the sort of questions that come up. We're a very debatey youth group. I remember one session was taken up nearly entirely by a debate on what makes the perfect sandwich. And it was just the most heated I've ever seen our youth group react. We've covered some of the trickier subjects within the church, but at the same time, what makes the perfect sandwich was the one that really riled and divided.
I'm going to keep my opinions on that to myself, because otherwise we'll
forget Brexit. It's sandwich. So aside from sandwich, we won't touch the sandwich. We won't go anywhere near that. We do need to know to make a judgment as to whether they will actually listen to you, whether they will disregard everything you say. And there is no right or wrong answer here, because different members of the youth group will obviously fall on one side of the coin or the other. But let's start off with a big horrible corporate one. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
KFC or McDonald's?
Well, it's a tough one. This is part of being a dad. Dad says McDonald's, but if I was on my own, probably KFC.
Honestly. Okay, so Man City or Man United?
Man United all the way. All the way, for sure.
Hillsong or Bethel?
I think Bethel. Hillsong have like a broader, wider, more stuff out there. But I like Bethel if I'm a bit more in a meditative that kind of mood. Yeah, Bethel probably.
I think I love the fact that Hillsong's youth band are now all in their mid-30s. I think that's quite...
Yeah, at some point you've got to kind of...
Yeah. I think tea or coffee? What's in that mug, basically? Coffee.
Unfortunately, this is instant coffee.
For
the machine in church, but coffee, yeah.
But you said a little bit about what you're doing. Are you full-time in ministry over there?
Yep, full-time youth worker, and then voluntarily, so outside of that as well, I'm the chair of Dungannon Youth for Christ.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, doing a bit of mixing and matching with stuff that I'm all youth work, but just a bit of different stuff.
Is that a big centre? Because some Youth for Christ centres have lots of staff, and others are a couple of volunteers.
No, we've got one staff, Heather, who is incredible, does an amazing job, and works a lot with our local schools, because Dungannon's kind of strange in that its population is just north of 16,000, I think. But between 11 and 18-year-olds, there's 4,000.
That sounds quite high.
Those are weird statistics. Like, I've never come across anywhere that's quite like that. If somebody can correct me, then fair enough. But just nowhere I've been has been that sort of dense of a youth population. So so she does, there's like four high schools effectively, or secondary schools in the area, and so she does a lot of stuff in there and whatever, so it's good. But yeah, it's strange.
Okie dokie. I love it when sort of local churches have really good links to Youth for Christ. We've got the local director worships with us at our church, and we try and support him wherever possible. It's sometimes a real battle, sort of trying to convince schools that we're not going to come in there and brainwash children and and stuff like that. I love schools work. I really love schools work. So I run a sort of like a safe space in the local school in conjunction with Norwich Youth for Christ. And we've been doing that for years, but that took a while to sort of bed in and build relationships in that school. So, but it's love. I love it. It's just the strangest hour of my week. I've never seen such passion over Uno before as a school lunch club.
Uno's big.
Everyone's got different rules for Uno. Everyone's got, it's like, well, I thought 6 was just a 6. Oh no, with 6 you got to stand up, turn around.
Yeah,
it's just like every family has different rules.
In our we played at our youth club called Soul Resort here, and whenever I got it out, everyone started shouting out, "Oh, this does that," and I went, "Right, let's stop. Okay, we're playing by my rules and my rules only," and that's it.
So can you put a +4 on a +4?
It depends how mean we're feeling.
Yeah.
So usually I set an upper limit as to how many pluses you can put on, but if we're being really mean, or if it's a group that know each other well, we'll just be like, tear away. So somebody ends up with like +24.
Nice. Have you ever done Jungle Speed?
No.
Oh, you need to get Jungle Speed. Jungle Speed is vicious. But again, it's only for certain groups, because so the whole idea is that you're laying cards down and you've got to look for ones that either match by colour or by shape, one at a time.
Okay.
And they're so close, but often not exact. So you've got to make a quick judgment, and then it's great.
Cool. So it's not one to play with your family at Christmas?
No. So many people will just get upset with that one. But at the same time, it's a good youth work tool. So you said there's a high percentage of young people in the town where you are. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what you love about the town, but also what some of the sort of issues and problems might be.
Cool. So yeah, say Dungannon is a funny place. Some of the challenges revolve around the history of Dungannon. So the Northern Ireland's famous for the Troubles, and so it's pitched as a Catholic against Protestant kind of thing, but it really kind of goes a little bit deeper than that, because it's not all Protestants, not all Catholics. It's those who want to fight, and so on and so forth. But Dungannon was a real hotspot for those Troubles, so there was a real sort of I'm going to say paramilitary presence in Dungannon back in the day and stuff like that, and so there was a lot of trouble revolved around here. And it's not too far from the border. It's kind of juts up, the border with the Republic of Ireland juts up just below Dungannon, or not too far below Dungannon, and stuff like that. So and there's just lots of a mishmash of cultures then. So there's famous for that, but then also there's lots of factories and stuff around here as well. So over the last I don't know how many years, there has been a real rise in people from Eastern Europe, from Portugal, from Brazil, from lots of different places, all arriving to work in the factories as well. So you have sort of the young people that we're working with now. A lot of them have been born and raised here, but their parents still don't speak great English sometimes, and the young people are translating stuff, but also then you're dealing with just a mix of cultures and stuff that are in that, which is just that can be a challenge. And it can be a challenge when from the Troubles people are used to protecting what's theirs and kind of holding on to their culture and saying, well, this is our culture and therefore we're going to protect it at all costs. and then you get other people from other cultures coming into that, then you sometimes get the same attitude of, oh well, you know, you're a third or fourth or fifth other culture, and I need to protect my culture even more now. So you get people that do that, but then you get a lot of the young people and stuff that just don't care, and they're kind of not seeing the same issues that their parents or grandparents are seeing. So it's kind of it's hard from the history point of view, and people who are perpetuating that history, but it's wonderful from a sort of bursting a bubble point of view, and lots of mixture of cultures and stuff, and that's class. It's really good to see.
Good lessons in reconciliation there, at least.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's great to be able to go, look, adults, look at these young people. You know, they are building bridges here where you don't want to, and you know, have a look at that and stuff like that. It's really cool. Yeah. And in general, Dungannon.
So that's kind of both halves of the question all kind of meshed into one there. Actually, that's quite. I mean,
cool. Dungannon's it can be a real fun place, and people are you know, typical Irish kind of think it's good crack. You know, people are really fun, and the like Northern Irish humor is kind of like, you can really like pointedly poke at somebody. It's kind of right in your face. You can make fun of somebody right to their face, and they'll give it back, and then you'll walk away the best of friends. You know, that kind of thing. So it's good. It's good for that kind of stuff as well. So you can have a lot of fun too.
Is there any sort of concern? I don't want to get too political, as it were, but this Brexit thing is coming upon us, and if you're in essence right on the border there, is that causing any sort of concern or worry or any sort of anxiety amongst people as to what's going on? I mean, I don't really, it's so far off the radar at the moment because of what's been going on, sort of coronavirus and the Black Lives Matter issue and stuff like that. I haven't heard anything, but I suddenly thought that's coming on us soon, and you're kind of right on the border there in essence.
Yeah, well, I mean, I probably pitched it as being closer to the border than than we actually are, but there are some sort of interesting there'd be a fair amount of farmland like right on the border, and we're kind of a farming community here, and I have heard of people who have literally farmland that is on the border. The border goes through their farm, and then they're going to have different rules for one side as the other and stuff like that, and so they're trying to figure out how they do that. I know that there's a teacher in one of the schools that I work with, who they have I can't remember if it's dairy or beef farm on one side of the border and a chicken farm on the other side of the border. But they had already done that because of like tax stuff and whatever way they have to work it out. Said it was just easier. So they're all set up, but I imagine that's probably the way people will have to go. There's no like, I don't think they'll give special dispensation to people. There just doesn't seem to be that way inclined. No. So I imagine people will just kind of put a big line through, a new fence on the border.
That half takes euros, that half takes pounds. That's
and they'll put another building in that field and say that's one farm and that's the other. And
And what about the young people? Are they do they have any sort of stronger feelings about it than anyone else?
Not really. No. I think it's one of those things that we're kind of slightly mixed up here. And to be honest, I think we're all just sitting back mostly, where the young people are, and I kind of am, to be honest, sitting back and waiting to see what happens. We all vaguely know that, you know, at some point there will be a conversation had and there will be no compromises made, and you know, there'll be a big argument at some point, no doubt. But at the minute we're like, you know, our government is, as everyone knows, has not been working. So so we're a bit like, well, if they're not doing anything, and you know, nobody over there, it seems sometimes like Boris and friends, sorry to get political, a lot of the people that I've heard speaking from either side or any side don't really know what's going on over here. So it would be good for a wee visit every now and again. Then it's like we basically just sit here and go, well, let's wait and see what happens. I don't think it'll make a big difference. It won't.
It is a bizarre one because your parliament has not sat for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember when that happened, that was quite a big thing. I was like, well, how can a parliament not sit? Who's making decisions? And then it kind of pops out the press, you know, the Emperor's New Clothes turned up, whatever that was. And it was only a while back because they nearly sit a while back? Was there nearly a meeting?
Yeah.
I went, oh my word, I'd forgotten about that. That's been so long.
Yeah. We hadn't forgotten.
Yeah.
But at the same, it's had a huge impact. It has had a huge impact. And it's a bit of a blame game for who started. You know, it's like, you know, he said, she said, kind of, they started it, and we don't want to sit because, and so on and so forth. So it's, but you know,
can you see that resolving itself soon?
Yeah, I think it has to. Yeah, I think they'll get there. Like it just depends. I don't know how deep much like any time that there's agreement here. I don't know how deep it'll run, or whether it's superficial and then the next crack in the pavement will come and that'll be it.
It seems a real shame because I mean, you said the young people are a lot more cohesive maybe than the sort of older generation. It seems like a bit of a waste to just say, well, we'll wait until the young people are in power and then hopefully they'll have enough about themselves to get over some of the historical lines and separations. You don't want to write off a generation.
No.
Waiting for people that will try and find a patch for this.
Yeah.
I've never ever experienced anything like what's going on with yourselves here at all. So it's just, and as I said, it really doesn't make the news very often over here.
No.
To the point when
we find that.
I mean, to the point when you know, local news is a great thing, but it does only inform the locals. You know, I'd love it somehow if you know, national news could give us a bit more of some of these pictures because it's so quick out the memory. Once it's out the news and there's something else on there. As I said, I can't remember what it must have been some point earlier in the year, and I suddenly thought, yeah, they've just not met. You know, and I like to see myself as someone who's quite good with current affairs and stuff like that, and I'd completely forgotten. I was just like, dearie me, that's really strange, but you know, living through it must be weird. But much like anything else, sounds like the young people are just sort of taking it relatively in their strides.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure they've all got opinions, and if they were asked, you know, by the people in power, they'd be able to voice an opinion. But I think the lack of information that they get probably means that they just kind of go, well, they're not telling us anything, so what's the point in bothering? Let's just crack on. So, and much the same for me. I suppose if I did a bit more research, I might have more of a strong opinion, but it's crack on, and I don't think it'll have
but Ireland generally, and Ireland and Northern Ireland, there's history there and all sorts, but Ireland generally is a very, very different place. I don't know if you found this. I mean, I know Suffolk is not exactly the metropolis of London or Manchester or something like that, but I don't know if you're aware, I've been doing a theology degree, but I've been stretching out over a long period of time, and I had to study St. Patrick, actually. Yes, it's not a Catholic degree at all, but he was one of he wrote some of the classics of early Christian literature, and that was one of the modules I was doing, and I found it fascinating. The Roman Empire never got to Ireland, and apparently that's the reason why, you know, Ireland and the mainland here do have very, very different things, very, very different histories. How do you find the difference, having had a foot in both camps, as it were? How different is it?
Yeah, it is very different. I think the main culture shock was when we moved from Belfast to we went to Brackley, which is like right in the middle of England, like Oxford, Banbury, in around there. And we find that most people in Ireland in general have some kind of experience of church. Even like even the people who you really wouldn't expect to, and who have gone very much the opposite way, they have some experience of church, of Sunday school,
Not
or
necessarily a good experience, but
well, not always good, but still an experience, so they know something of God or the Bible or whatever. And when moving to England then, and talking to young people for the first time on the street, and just chatting to them, realized very quickly that you were starting from a completely different place of, I've never set foot in a church, even for a wedding or something like that. It was, no, the wedding was done at the registry office or whatever, and it was like, that was a big culture shock. That was, and then in Ireland, because we're so close, we rely on family a lot more.
yeah.
And when we moved across, then we realized that families can be much further apart, but but you rely much more on your friends and your community. So, which is something that we'd like to bring back with us much more, actually friends and community. We need to work much more closely with them.
Okay.
But yeah.
For some of the young people that we're looking after, lockdown is an uncertain place, and uncertainty is never a nice place for a young person to be. I'm sure you've had to give advice. What is the best bit of advice you think for a young person feeling unpleasant, anxious, and uncertain in the current lockdown situation?
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's just the thing that sprung to mind really when I was thinking about this is, it's okay to feel, and those feelings don't have to be private. I think the way I experience anxiety, just to put it in the real terms, is I am the last person to know that I am really anxious or depressed or whatever, and have been and deal with that. And so usually it's my wife, or physical signs on my body. So I get like a rash in the back of my hands, and it's itchy, and whatever else, other, stress rash or whatever. Those are the things that tell me, Phil, wise up, there's something wrong here. And so, because I think I'm quite a positive person, so I just kind of, it'll be all right, it's fine. But I think, so the thing to remember is that it is okay to feel whatever you feel. But it's also acknowledging that, but also then not internalizing it. I know that's a bit of a do as I say, not as I do kind of kind of a message.
All the time. That's what youth
But,
workers do.
yeah, but learning from my own mistakes, to have somebody who can recognize that stuff in you and tell you to your face, you're being an idiot, or or are you okay? Maybe to ask you, are you okay, more than once, because you'll probably just go, yeah, I'm fine. I think, that's feel it. It's okay to feel whatever you feel, whatever that is. It's okay, but to speak it out is really, really important with somebody. And I know that with my young people, and whenever I'm doing any online stuff, I'm constantly saying, get in touch, get in touch, get in touch. That can be quite a brave thing to do, but it's really important. So
yeah, it is, and it's true. I mean, it's amazing how little we kind of know about ourselves, and how other people sometimes know a lot more about us. I mean, I always find that for me, if I start getting cold sores, I sort of go, oh, hang on, maybe I'm doing too much, because it's sort of like the sign that your body's sitting there going, oh, hello, been working too hard, or your sleep's down, or something's up. Your body gives you little hints every now and then, but we're quite good at ignoring them generally. And that doesn't necessarily change, particularly as you get older. It's not like, I used to be like this when I was younger, and now I'm so fantastic at it. We hopefully we're slightly better at getting people around us that can be honest with us and stuff like that, but it's the same experience, sadly. We have yet to perfect it. Maybe when I'm in my 50s, I don't know. I missed one out. What's it like being a dad in lockdown? How are you handling fatherhood in lockdown?
Well, we have an 8-month-old son who is just trying to get on his feet. So my back is broken because obviously all he wants to do is hold your hands and
Yeah.
walk. And so I'm not that tall either, and still, it's been good. It's been good. I enjoyed the early stages, especially, and getting to do different things. I'm still enjoying being able to go to like a park almost every day and go for a walk and stuff like that. That's been really cool. I have to say though, it basically means that I have to do my fair share now. I've got no excuse because I'm not out of the house. So, so Lynn's like, here you go, your turn. Like, okay, that's your not be to change. She's like, okay, fine. Yeah, so doing my fair share. But Lynn has been doing most of the homeschooling with Hannah, our 6-year-old. So I'm doing a great job, although mostly I can hear the shouting from the other room, which is just it.
Very active daughter you've got, haven't you?
Yeah.
She's very active. Your daughter's the same age as mine, actually.
Cool.
It's not an easy age to try and explain lockdown, social distancing, stop licking that. It's and they are so active. I have no idea how. I don't know how well your daughter eats, but my daughter can have like a noodle, and that will power her incessant ability to run and jump and until she crashes. And I'm just like, how can you so efficiently take such a small chunk of food, declare yourself to be full, and then go like the clappers for the next half hour?
Or even just the sentence, "Oh, are you tired? Maybe it's time for bed." And then you find that they somehow get a surge of energy, and the next 2 hours are just like, no, there's no way I'm going to bed now because I'm so energetic. It's like, all right, okay,
definitely time to scoot.
Yeah.
On the scooter around the front.
Yeah.
Oh, just incredible. I wish I could have that much energy for anything in life. That's as a 6-year-old girl. But I do know you've got a particularly active one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've done that, the whole Joe Wicks thing, pretty much every morning.
We did Joe Wicks. I got an 11-year-old boy, a 6-year-old girl. An 11-year-old boy got pretty fed up with Joe Wicks pretty quick. But we've been going on really long cycle rides, and he's been cycling with me while I run, and some of that. There are some lovely moments available in lockdown.
Yeah.
If you notice them.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the key is notice these moments.
As a parent, you're like, you have to realize you don't get those opportunities. Just in what was normal life, they would not have arisen, so you just take them and take pictures and all the rest of it.
We do a little book of our year.
Cool.
Every year from, I think we started it in 2011 or 2012 or something around then, when we had one child, and the books have got bigger and bigger because there is more to do. But we were sitting there thinking, what do we fill it with in lockdown? And we just thought, no, we're just being silly. We're just not noticing the moments. We're not quite sort of seeing the times when we need to go, quick photo, lighting right. So we're going to have a book full of not very good quality photos off the phone, but it's the memories that they prompt, isn't it? That's part of the thing. And there's plenty of them. We may not have gone out and about as much as we wanted to, but their moments are there. And the one thing I end up saying to my youth group all the time is choose your focus. You can focus on those moments and smile and grin and sit there and go, oh, that's amazing, it's fantastic, I need to remember that, I need to record that. Or you can dwell in all the things that you can't do, and some of the things that you just feel restricted by and constrained by, and you can choose which you focus on. And it's not easy to choose to focus on the good stuff, but it's certainly going to help you sort of mental health wise if you can find a way to latch onto, to anchor onto the best bit.
Absolutely.
Last little question I had for you before I introduce you to the biggie is, have you found a nugget, and there is a nugget behind you there, have you found a nugget of biblical wisdom that helps in these times?
So we've been going through a series on Acts, but and that's been amazing, because it's just highlighted to me how much those guys relied on the Holy Spirit. just to power everything, they just kept going back to him. So I, I was thinking about this one, and I'm going to cheat, incredibly cheat. I'm sorry, but it's almost like, so it's going back to Shrek. I know Shrek's irrelevant now, but it's that onion thing of peeling back the layers. Okay, so the top layer would be this thing here behind me. So 1 Timothy 4:12, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set an example for the believers. So that set an example thing. I think as young people, I'm going to say we. I'm not young, I know, but I'm going to say it anyway. As
On
young
behalf
people,
of young people everywhere,
we really like the first part of that. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, and you can kind of, it's like two fingers up, and don't you dare look down on me because I'm young. How dare you? But the second part of set an example is the bit that I love, because actually young people need to realize that they can do that, that they can. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on that they can set an example in and stand up for at the minute. So set an example for the believers. So it's not even people in the rest of the world. It's people in church. Effectively, you're saying set an example for the adults in church, because they really need to see this. It's like, wow.
Gold, that verse is youthful gold.
Yeah, totally. But the whole set an example thing can be quite scary too. So then looking at Acts, we're peeling back that layer. So the layer below is the apostles and everyone in Acts. The early church were totally dependent on God for everything, and they had to run at times for their lives, but at the same time they went and preached and God, and they listened to God and just did what he said, didn't explain him away, but did what he said. And then the layer below that then is a psalm that I've just been sort of encamped in for this whole time. And so the Psalm 139 is one of my favorite passages from the whole Bible, and it ends like this. So it says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts," which feeds into what we've already talked about anxiety and mental health and stuff. "See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." I just think when you peel back those layers, you start with this, and it's not a prayer just for the believers, but it can be a prayer that you introduce yourself to Jesus with, is to say, it's you saying for the first time, God, I want to know you, and I want to give up everything to you, and so I need you, want you to search my heart, to know it, to know my anxious thoughts. Tell me what my anxious thoughts are, because I'm not sure. Help me to deal with those, and dig up anything in me that you don't like, and lead me forward. And that will help with all the other stuff, and help us get back to this, which is to set an example. So I know I've cheated. I've cheated, but I think
3-point sermon there.
Yeah, it was like a wee package there, a wee package deal.
No, it's good, and it works really, really well with the Acts one as well, actually, because the one every time we study Acts, and we do it quite regularly, sort of in the youth group. You just look at how much the early church is sitting there going, "Oh, we don't have a clue," and they have to rely on God, because everything's new and everything's different, and they've gone instantly from a follower to doer. They were following this chap around, and they were learning from him, and they were sucking in every bit of knowledge that he had, and then he's gone. And they're like, totally thrown in at the deep end. I mean, obviously they've had 3 years training with a pretty decent coach, I would say. Yeah. But at the same time, they're just like, "Oh, what do we do?" And they're praying, and they're meeting together, and they're in each other's pockets. And in their time of uncertainty and in their time of instability, they just rely on God. And there's an amazing lesson for us in that, because right now we can probably feel like, this is a pretty uncertain time. On Zoom last night, I was chatting to some of our young people who are now waiting on GCSE results for exams they didn't take.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it suddenly struck me how weird that must be. And she's just like, I don't know what results I'm going to get. My mocks were quite good, but my teachers can change them. And just what a strange and uncertain time.
Yeah.
And we need to have some real security on what we anchor to and what we latch onto in these weird and wonderful times. And I think our young people have an amazing opportunity to set examples for parents, because parents, older people within the church, we're no more secure in this time. We know that we've not been through this before either. So for our young people to set an example here for us all, I think it would be fantastic. And let's hope that us of an older generation have got the wisdom to learn from the younger generation what we can in these circumstances, rather than just dismiss everything they do as irrelevant, which sometimes we have a tendency to do. So let's hope we can not do that. I think that was really helpful. Thank you. I am now going to bring in the big one, and I'm not sure whether you managed to get to the end of any of our any of our chats yet, because some of these are quite long. I'm fully aware that not everyone sees them all. But the important fish or wig. Okay, so I've sort of brought in this idea that apparently you can end coronavirus and lockdown by wearing either the political leader wig or the fish for a year, but you have to keep sleep, eat, I presume sort of shower, everything's good. You've got to have this on your head for the year. Which would you choose, fish or wig, for the year ahead to end lockdown right now?
I didn't even have to think about it. Fish all the way.
Wow, most people have gone for fish.
I mean, yeah. I mean, wig's just wig. You could be having a bad hair day.
Yeah, I mean, my lockdown hair is not massively different from this wig anymore.
It's quite impressive.
It's got so much hair going on under here. Look at that. Good news is that the barber intends to open on the 4th. But yeah, the everyone loves the fish hat.
It is a very cool hat. Like, I've never seen that particular hat before. I do like it.
Youth work is all about the hats. The fish hat we bought for a sort of Soul Survivor type event that we have near us, just because sometimes it's really hard to find your youth worker if they're not wearing a fish on their head. If they're wearing their fish on their head, very easy to spot. So that's the one. So you've gone fish.
Fish all the way.
Fish all the way. There we go. And one person chose wig. They were going to wear wig over the top of their hair, just sort of like a bun. Yeah. But he did have quite a lot more hair than you.
Fair enough.
Well, Phil, it's been fantastic to speak to you.
And you.
I want to wish you all the best in all you're doing. I hope God really blesses the work you're doing online and the content you're putting out. And bit by bit, I hope, through a bit of godly wisdom, you can find a good way to bring us all slowly out and start talking. I'll keep an eye on what you're doing as well, because you're pumping out some really good content. Cool. What I have a tendency to do is see what everyone's doing, and if I can steal some and chuck it our way, then we will.
I've been doing exactly the same with you, so I'm sharing all your stuff too.
That's youth workers just scouring the internet looking for good stuff that other people have done, which is what we always did. Actually, have always sat there and gone, "That's great, I'm going to steal that."
Yeah, totally.
We've always done it. It's just a bit more obvious now.
Yeah, you can't hide it now.
Yeah, they're like, hang on, he's not telling. We've always done it, and we will always will. Let's hope that we can find a way to wisely work our way through the ever-changing world that is lockdown. Thank you very much, Phil Bailie.
Cheers, mate.